and welcome back to another edition of the Big Knick Energy podcast. I'm your host, the bald kid wonder, Joe Yoke. We got the mega mind mastermind, Angie Pels, the man that makes it all happen, and our very special guest today, former coach for the Pistons, Raptors, Wizards, and most importantly, our New York Knickerbockers. Also holds a bunch of shooting records as being the best shooter in the world. Dave Hopla, how are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on. And it's great for the NBA and great for the city of New York to see the Knicks playing so well right now.
I cannot agree with that statement anymore, and I'm not even saying that as a fan. For anyone that doesn't know Dave out there, this man has held the record before for most three-pointers made in 1 minute, the most free throws made in 1 minute. The numbers as of 2012, which is when the last time I saw an article written about you on the internet, made 1,234 free throws in a row, 211 high school threes, 181 college range threes, and 78 NBA threes in a row. Dave, are any of those numbers higher now?
Yeah, my NBA's 98 now, and I screwed up thinking two more. I have 100, and it's something that I always tell. It's one shot at a time, and I wasn't thinking of shot number 99. I was looking ahead to 100. So a little mental mishap there for me.
Hey, you got to get back out there, man.
Yeah, I'm gonna as soon as I'm done here, I'm going back out.
There you go.
Let's go. When you bricked number 99, how much did you miss by? Front rim, back rim?
I was front rim, little short. And that's another thing. Never miss short. So I had it happens. Happens to the best of us.
You miss long, at least you have a chance of banking.
That's it. That's just like a golfer. I'm down here in Naples, Florida. I don't golf, but I talk to the golf pros and they say the same thing. Never leave a putt short. And when I watch golf, 99% of the putts seem to be short, with the pros and stuff. So
what's funny about that, Dave, is that I was watching another shooting coach. I was listening to an interview or I was reading something, and he trains shooters, and he says he studies golf. He says he studies people's mechanics or whatever, and he says that shooting a basketball.
Yeah.
Why would that be a thing?
It's funny, one of years ago when I started coaching and everything, a couple of the books that I, read was The Inner Game of Tennis, about the mind and its strokes, and the same thing, Inner Game of Golf. And the funny thing with golf is it's so much mental. Like I was talking to a golf pro, he says, basketball, you got to go next play. Golf, you hit a bad shot, you're out there for 4 hours, but you play for 15 minutes. It's what you do in between, you hit a bad shot. Now that shot's in your mind for, you got to okay, I got to do this, and this. But the mental part is just so tough. And I always say this, as great as Tiger Woods was, once all of that crap went down, he was never the same again. Yeah. Mentally, he was, luckily he bounced back a little bit for, a little while. But it's just the mind is a tough thing, man. It really is.
No matter what sport you're doing or anything in life, realistically, if you're going through a messy divorce, it's going to affect your daily life.
Sure.
No matter what you do.
Yeah.
Before we get into it, just real quick, all of our listeners, make sure you like and subscribe to us. Share as well, YouTube, Spotify, iTunes. Follow all of our personal pages, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram. Dave, first off, I want to go into your history a little bit. Starting way back when.
Okay.
How old were you when you started recording your own shooting mechanics and stuff? And also, what possessed you to start doing it?
Okay, I was 16 when I started charting my shots. I went to a camp in the Pocono Mountains, and I wish I remember who the coach was. It was a young guy. He was a junior varsity coach in Philadelphia area, and he said, if you're serious about becoming a better player, you need to have a practice plan. You need to have keep track of your shots. How do you know if you're getting better if you don't keep track of your shots? And I was like, wow, I must be the only kid in the world not doing this. Turns out I was the only kid in the world doing it, and now they have phone apps. I had a phone app I made years ago, and now they got one called Home Court, and it records everything, charts your shots, tells you percent. And I say to kids, how many of you have Home Court? And they say, we've got it. I said, how many of you use it? Well, I used it once or twice. These kids nowadays want everything to do to work out for them. This thing tells you what you shot. All you got to do is click on and set it up to record you. And they don't want to do that. I don't understand these kids, I still chart with my notebook. I still write them down and have kids chart my shots at camps, So
that is the saddest part, is that people aren't even willing to turn on their phone apps to do things that
that's
for them.
that's the
You've been writing
epitome
it
of
down.
laziness, right?
Yeah.
Imagine if you had that technology back in your day.
Oh, that, and I said that. Did you imagine if I had the gun or the Dr. Dish along with a cell phone?
Yeah.
Now I probably would have been like the kids there. I wouldn't do anything. I'd be on the cell phone doing TikTok videos or something,
You'd be stuck on video games, man.
Yeah, never.
Oh God, thankfully.
Yeah.
Next question I was going to ask was about how old were you and you feel like you perfected your form?
I'm still working on that. I mean, I'm like I said, year in and year out, I'm like body temperature. I'm like 98.6 during my lectures. I just did my first lecture on Saturday, this past Saturday in Plant City. It's located outside of Lakeland. And, I did a 45-minute lecture and I was 398 for 401, so, still, but, I haven't done like the whole year, but I always tell people, during the summer, during camps and stuff, July is always my best month. And that's when I speak at the most camps. June, some kids aren't out of school, August, some kids go back, but July, everyone's out of school. And that's when I do the most camps. And that's when I shoot the ball the most. But, happy to be back. Looking forward to speaking at some camps again this summer. I know some places they're not having them, and due to this whole pandemic stuff still. So
you do thankfully live in one of the two states that's already made it mandated that you're not going to need to do all that stuff. Florida and Texas might be big.
Right. I'm very fortunate. Even during when it first started, I have I have a gym. It's at my best friend's house. 24/7, 360. If I wasn't even shut down, I had people like, wanting to come in from, but people didn't want to come to Florida, but everyone that was here wanted to get in the gym, and only would bring one person in and doing individuals, but it's a private gym, so it couldn't be shut down. But they took hoops off the outside baskets, or put things over top. Kids couldn't practice anywhere unless they had, a hoop in their backyard and stuff. So
it's a sad thing we've all had to go through for the past year.
Right.
Next thing I want to ask you, when did you notice that like people noticed that you were better at shooting than anyone else around you?
It was a progression thing. Like when I first, was overseas, I got better. Like I said, by the time I was a senior and I could really shoot the basketball, I was on JV as a junior, like now it's against the law in 32 states, but I didn't quit, transfer to 17 schools. I just kept working hard. And by the time I was a senior, I was one of the top players in Baltimore, but, I got better then, but,
nice, big city.
Yeah. And, I was, made all county, made third team all metro, which is Catholic City League and county. So, that was, a big deal for me at the time. But nobody was recruiting me. So I went to a junior college. My first year of junior college, I broke my ankle. Back then, I don't even think there was a term called medical redshirt. So I played like, 10 to 12 games. And then my second year at junior college, I made all region 20. And then I got a certificate, it said, everyone gets a certificate nowadays, but it said, honorable mention All-American. I'm like, either you're an All-American or you're not. Everyone's an honorable mention All-American.
Wait,
but
isn't it first team, second team, third team?
Yeah.
And
then honorable mention. So everyone's honorable mention. So, once, I got out, I kept getting better every year because I was charting my shots. And then, when I was playing overseas, I started doing camps. But when I did my first camps I was doing, I had a whole routine. I didn't have a toss back when I was a kid, but I used to pass the ball against the wall, behind the back, and I used to do dribbling stuff and everything. Then I refined it to shooting and stuff. But like I said, I've been charting my shots, which was huge in, my development and my consistency of doing it. I still do it to this day. I mean, charting it. So.
Hey, Dave, what is a guy like you, somebody who's just one of the best or the best in the world at something, and specifically your circumstances, when you started to really develop that shot at whatever age it was there any type of like inspiration, or was there somebody who used to go to X, just as a somebody to go to talk about, shooting? Was there a shooting coach for you, or
Like
was
motivational guidance?
There was when I was a kid, when I went to my first camp in the Poconos, there was 3 people, and I mentioned them every lecture. It was George Lehman, who was unbelievable, Hank Slider, and Herb McGee. And actually, I just on Throwback Thursday, I just posted a picture of Herb and myself. And actually, Herb's in the Basketball Hall of Fame. He was up at my camp in the Poconos. He coached at Philadelphia University, which I think now is called Jefferson University. But he was a great shooter, as well as George Lehman. George Lehman used to have the toss back, the net where you throw the ball back, and his brother used to do the ball handling. And George, started out with the whole thing like beat, balance, elbow, eyes, and follow through. And then Hank Slider was probably one of the best teachers of shooting the basketball, who was just an older gentleman who came into our high school and stuff. So I always give them shout outs, and whenever I lecture, I said, they were huge. And, I'm always honored when I have my camp in the Poconos, Herb comes up to speak, and I always tell him, I said, I was sitting there like you were watching Herb, and I'm honored to have him. And that was, like I said, no camps last year, but the year before that at my camp, I had Herb McGee, who's in the Basketball Hall of Fame, and I had Coach Hurley in the Basketball Hall of Fame. And kids don't even know who these guys are. I mean, it's like,
wait, Bobby Hurley? They don't know who Bobby Hurley is?
Senior.
Oh, senior. Okay.
And they don't know junior either. They don't know Danny Hurley. These kids have, if it's not like LaMelo Ball and the Ball family now, it's like they don't know anybody.
Dave, speaking off that, did you hear that Anthony Edwards doesn't even know who A-Rod is?
I know. And he said he was like a great baseball player himself and everything. And then, I bet he knows J-Lo though, huh?
Yeah, that's for sure.
But yeah, that doesn't surprise me though. It really doesn't. Some of these guys are just like, they're in their own little world.
Yeah, the
context gets lost these days. Everyone's too up to the minute, I feel like. I was going to ask you more towards your basketball coaching career for the NBA. If your answer isn't New York, we'll take it a little personally, but no big deal. Which of the 4 teams you were assistant coach for was your favorite? Detroit, New York, Toronto, or Washington?
It was New York. I mean, I grew up in New Jersey, went to high school in Baltimore, but that first year. Sorry about that. I thought that was off. That first year in New York, even the second year, but the first year in New York when we won 54 games, there was nothing like going to that Garden, the energy, the excitement, and just, we weren't picked by anyone even to make the playoffs that year. They said we were too old. We had we had Jason Kidd, Marcus Camby, Tyson Chandler, Amari, Rasheed Wallace, Kirk Thomas. I mean, we had, our rookies were Pablo Prigioni at 32 and Chris Copeland at 28, Jason Kidd. And what a great group of guys. I mean, it was just a great place. And plus, when I was a kid growing up, I was a big New York Knicks fan, growing up. So like, I was like, this is like a dream come true, because I used to go to the Garden early just to shoot around before the guys would get there. I said, this is like my, I was like, going back in time and, fantasy land, being able to shoot at the Garden every day before the games and stuff. So it was just great. And then I was telling my wife how I used to like, after, you got in late in the season, you used to have those early matinee games on Sunday. And after the game, my wife and daughter, we'd go into the city to go out for dinner and everything. And, it was just great. And the coach and staff, Coach Woodson and the rest of the crew were a great group of guys. And it was just a great year.
I am so glad you said New York, honestly, out of all that. I was going to ask you, when you did put up the shots, like prior to the games and stuff, prior to the guys getting there, even someone as phenomenal of a shooter as you, did you like miss a couple more than you usually would just for being in the Garden, like the aura around it?
No, actually, I was fired up. I didn't, I was shooting there the one day, and rest his soul, Cal Ramsey was in there, and he was watching me, and he said, "You're the greatest shooter ever to step foot in this building." He was just in awe. He goes, "I can't believe how many you make without shooting it, so without missing."
Curry range yet? Can you get to the
No, that range is ridiculous. I can't even see the basket from that far away, man. That guy is so ridiculous. You know, my range is like right to the three, the NBA line, which is, as now I'm getting older, I'm finding it a little bit more difficult, but I still can knock it down from there. But his range that's sick. Yeah, like I said, I can't even see the hoop.
For such a skinny guy that Steph Curry is, like, where does that, because shooting from that far is not easy. Usually your form's off.
No.
It's easy. Where does all that strength come from when you're a great shooter?
Him and Dame Lillard both. They're both small.
Yeah, no, it comes from their legs. You got bigger and stronger muscles in your legs, and that's where it all starts out. Your base and foundation and stuff. And even Trae Young, look at his range. He's another little guy. But these kids now, I mean, they're like, the bad part is you see too many bad shooters. I mean, I'm watching a game last night. I was watching Daniel Tice. I mean, he's with what game was that?
Chicago.
Oh, the Bulls.
Yeah, that's right. I'm watching. He's the guy. There's a reason you're open, number one, right?
That's why you're Dave.
Yeah. And then he's like, he's shooting 31%. You shouldn't even be shooting one of those three balls. I mean, it's just, but that's the thing. It's like, the analytic guys, shoot the threes, keep shooting them. And, that's why you see so many of these blowouts, teams are down and, they say they're down 15 and they come down and try to shoot 3 threes and they're long rebounds and ends up being leaked out the other way. Now it's 15, goes up to 21 in a blink of an eye, Well,
Dave, at what point does it, talking about Daniel Tice and just being like a decent shooter, whatever he is, 31%, where does the if you practice at practice and you're shooting a decent percentage, he might be shooting a lot better at practice. When if he's shooting the shot in the game, eventually it's not going in. No.
Why doesn't it translate as much, basically?
Yeah, it's funny that's a great question. I've always, whenever I did individual work with players, I always charted their shots and stuff. And what a guy shoots, in practice, spot shooting, it's usually about a 40 to 45% drop off.
Wow.
I had Reggie Jackson. I used to spend a lot of time with Reggie, and he was hurt a lot in Detroit and everything. And I used to spend the summers with him out in LA. And Reggie's, he's shooting 40, I think right now he's 42, 43%, I believe. But, he would go about 85%, of his threes in practice and so forth. And that's pretty much what a guy would do. And the funny thing is, people are Steph Curry's 15th in the league in 3-point percentage.
Yeah.
The guys that are best are all very simple, catch and shoot. Now, if you just took Steph Curry's catch and shoot percentage, he'd probably be one of the leaders. Yeah. But, he does so much, off the bounce and everything. But the top guys are Tony Snell, Joe Ingles, Luke Kennard, Joe Harris. They're basically catch and shoot guys. And what does every kid want to do? 99 million dribbles before they shoot. And that's 0.001% of the people in the world are allowed to do those things. Keep it simple, catch and shoot. I mean, Klay Thompson that game, he had took 11 dribbles when he had 60 some points, right?
Yeah. 13 dribbles, 60 points.
Yeah.
Which, he's probably the only one that would ever get the opportunity to actually do that. Also, setting him up makes it way easier.
Sure. Yeah, no.
I was going to ask you, based on because you've worked with guys obviously a lot of the Knicks players, Pistons, Raptors, and Wizards in the past. Other players you have worked with individually, like Kobe Bryant, Ray Allen, anyone you have worked with, who was your favorite person to work out one-on-one?
Oh, that was Kobe Bryant. I mean, I had him right at first 4 years in the league. Arn Tellem hired me to work with all of his players, but Kobe was 17. Kobe had gone to Eastern Invitational, so I had seen him, before and everything as a young kid. But now he just graduated high school and we're working out. And I didn't think he was ready for the NBA at the time, and he struggled this first year. I mean, shot 4 air balls in the finals. Yeah, didn't phase him at all. I mean, Nick Anderson missed 4 free throws, was never the same again, never the same player again. But Kobe was never late for a workout, was always early. When you corrected him, he looked you in the eye. and he always paid attention to detail, had like laser-like focus. And the thing was, like with him, a lot of his game was about feel. Like I'd say, okay, we're going to make 10 from this area here. He might say, no, I don't want to move yet. Now he's already made his 10. Like most people can't wait to just like go to the next thing. He's like, nah, I don't have it right now. It doesn't feel right. He wanted everything to like 10 perfect where it felt pure. Like you see some people shooting it, like, maybe they're off balance, but it went in. Oh, that's okay. It went in. He wasn't like that. And that's why he's like he is. And I've been disappointed though with every other person that have worked out since then, because they say, oh, I want to be like Kobe, but then they show up late to the workout. Then they gotta put their shoes on, and they gotta stretch out, then they gotta do this, and they're on their cell phone and all of this. I mean, and it's just
what's the earliest Kobe had you up in the morning for a workout?
I'll tell you, the best story was I was out in the West Coast. I was doing the West Coast All-Star Camp with David Dana Pump, and they had the top players from California and all that. I mean, Gilbert Arenas had gone to camp there, Baron Davis, Tyson Chandler, Keith Van. I mean, you name it, anybody on the West Coast, Jason Terry, going back. So I'm out there, and I get a phone call. It's Kobe. Kobe goes, I heard you're in LA. I want to work out. Why didn't you call me? I'm like, Kobe, I don't know where you're at in the summertime. I'm speaking at 50 million camps. He goes, well, I want to work out tomorrow. I said, I'm flying to California, up to San Francisco. I got a camp in San Francisco. He goes, well, I got to go to Philadelphia. I said, well, my flight's at 8 in the morning. And he goes, well, mine's at 10. I'll take you to the airport. Wow. And I said, okay, well, we'll go. So anyway, he said, I went to the security at Cal State Dominguez where the camp was, and I said, hey, can I get the gym open early? And there's like, what time? I said, 4:30. No, can't do that. We don't want the kids. I said, it's for Kobe Bryant. I go, we'll get the doors right open for you. Right. So I get to the gym at like 4:15. Kobe's already there. He had a Range Rover. He's in the car. We open up the doors. Boom. We get in there. We go out. We work till like, 6:30. The airport's, stone's throw there. Boom. And, he was there early, like I said, ready to go, and never complained about a thing, and always asked questions, and just his attention to detail and his focus was unbelievable. I mean,
that is an awesome story.
That Mamba mentality.
Yeah, that's it. Everyone talks about it. They don't have it though, man. It's like they don't get it. It's easy to say you got something, but
once in a generation.
Yeah.
I was going to ask, based on that answer, it's probably Kobe Bryant. So maybe I'll ask like, who was the second or third? The most persistent and relentless person in the gym you've worked with. So probably not Kobe, but someone else.
Gilbert Arenas.
Yes.
Nice. People, I tell you what, people don't realize how good he was. I mean, he was like, you couldn't guard him with a smaller player because he was too strong and too quick. And you talk about a guy that had range. I mean, he had unlimited range. And then, a bigger guy, he was just too fast for. And actually, I just posted a thing last Thursday. It was a throwback Thursday. It was because Gilbert was like one of the first bloggers in the NBA. And he was talking about, he saw me at camp. I've known Gilbert since he was 14, because I did a lot of stuff on the West Coast, and he was at camp.
You caught him young then.
Yeah. And he had said, he goes, I go to this camp, and his shooting guys coming in, and he goes, I can't wait for him to miss, because me, I'm going to be all over him. He goes, the guy never missed. He goes, and then at the end, he pulled out a hat with a hand in the face, and he goes, I'm going to shoot from 3, and every time I make a 1, I get a point. If I miss it, Reggie Miller's going to get 3. The game's at 21. He goes, I watched this guy. He won 21-0. He goes, I couldn't wait to get home and make a hat. He goes, I put it on. I played. It was 21-0 Reggie, he said. So he wrote a blog about me. It was like the man who made me give up dunking for shooting and stuff. It was like, big thing. And then, I was with him, getting him ready. I was working for Dan Fagan at the time, an agent, God rest his soul. And that year I was out in California. I had Dan Fagan, Jason Richardson, and Troy Murphy, and they all went to Golden State. They were all drafted by Golden State. And Gilbert went to the second round. And he was devastated by that. And I said, Gilbert, I said, what happened when you went to college? They said, you weren't going to play at Arizona. They said you weren't good enough, wearing number 0. And I said, you got 30 teams to repay. And, they changed that rule for the second round pick because Gilbert got paid after 2 years. He went to Washington and, he wasn't locked into 4 years like the other rookies. And then they changed that rule for the second round, the Gilbert Arenas rule. But, Gilbert was unbelievable in the gym. The only bad part was when I was in with the Wizards, he was hurt most of the time I was in Washington, but he was another special player. I mean, and just, relentless in the gym and, he'd go into the gym all different hours and everything, but he was joy to work with.
That is awesome. I love Agent Zero back in the day. For any listeners that want to look it up, the story is still online. If you Google Dave Hopla's name, Dave Hopla, Gilbert Arenas, that blog post is still there. I read it last night.
That's great.
I was going to ask, for people that you never actually worked with, is there anyone past like 10, 20 years from afar that you're like, they're shooting motions off, but I've ever got my hands on them, I think I can fix it?
Well, I wish I had $1 for everyone asked if I worked with Shaquille O'Neal. That would be, I'd be like Bill Gates territory or Jeff Bezos with that if everyone asked me. But yeah, one of the ones I was, and they've done a good job. I think Fred Vincent has gotten with, Lonzo Ball. That was one I was actually in conversation with Magic Johnson about getting with him when he was with the Lakers, but it never happened. He ended up hurting his shoulder and everything. But they've done a great job with him getting that ball from the left side of his head over to the right side of his head and stuff. But that would have been one I would have liked to have gotten with, but he's done a nice job. And that's what I say to kids. I said, if he's changing his shot, he's been in the league for a couple of years. Why would you start changing your shot right now? I mean, and in this day and age, there's no need to have like a broken, ugly looking jump shot with everything that's available on the internet. I mean, you can Google, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Ray Allen, Elena Delle Donne, Sue Bird, Diana Taurasi, and emulate them. And they have little clips of shooting and what they do. And then you can videotape yourself with your phone and you can compare apples to apples and oranges to oranges. And it's just amazing how bad some jump shots look.
It's the same kids that don't want to go onto the app and just log their stats.
Right now, that's the truth,
Going back to your time in New York from 2012 to 2014, you worked with guys like Amare, Carmelo Anthony, J.R. Smith, Tyson Chandler, guys like that. Who did you enjoy working with the most on the team? And then who was your favorite coach to coach alongside as well?
My favorite player on that team was probably Chris Copeland. I spent the most time with him the first year there. And, he was great for us. I think he actually started a playoff game for us, if I'm not mistaken. But he was a relentless worker. I mean, he was so happy to be in the league. And he was, always putting extra time in. And, he didn't know if he was going to play 1 minute, 0 minutes or 40 minutes for us. And he was always ready because he put in the extra time. And that's when, always ask me, like, who do you enjoy working? It's the guy who listened and worked the hardest. I mean, that's it. I mean, I enjoyed all our guys. I mean, in New York were great. And one of the reasons why, I mean, is most of the guys have seen me at camp at some point. And so they remember, when they were kids. So I must have made an impact on them as young. Like JR, I've known JR and his whole family for forever. I mean, and then Mello, I knew Mello when he was in high school, when he was going to Towson Catholic in high school in Baltimore. And same thing, Amari. I saw Amari at the Sunshine Invitational Camp, Tyson Chandler out at the West Coast also. So I had seen these guys at some point. So I enjoyed, working with, they were a great group to work with. I mean, and they were veterans. I mean, and the veterans get it. You don't win young in the NBA. No NBA young team wins it. They always, crap the bed at some point in the playoffs or during the season, but, and actually Jason Kidd, I had gone out years ago, a buddy of mine, played high school ball with Jason. So I had met him when he was in Phoenix years ago and so forth. So it was a great group of guys. And, the coaches were great. I mean, Coach Woodson, I'm so happy for him going to Indiana. It was great to see the Knicks bring him back. I thought he got a raw deal there, like all of us did when when Coach came in, because we won like 17 of our last 21 games that year. The second year, we just missed the playoffs, but we were peaking like at the right time. We had so many injuries, and and I thought that year we were going to make the playoffs, and I said I thought we would have gone further than we did the year before. I mean, we were banged up going into Indiana, but the thing is, with the New York media and stuff, if the beginning of the year nobody picked us to make the playoffs, we win 54 games, we're going to lose in the second round. They'd say, "Oh man, that's going to be a great year if you can do that." Once we did it, it was like, "Oh man, they should have beat Indiana," But it was a great group, and the whole staff was great. Herb Williams, Darrell Walker, Jimmy Todd, and LaSalle Thompson. We had a
that must have been a wild locker room. That must have been a real fun locker room over there with all those guys.
You want to talk about a fun locker room? How about this? My first year in Washington, Gilbert Arenas, Nick Young, JaVale McGee, Andre Bloch. You want to talk about a fun locker room?
Did you see the guns that were in the lockers?
No, I wasn't. I wasn't with the team. That was the next year when I was gone. I was gone that year. I wasn't there then. But that's when Javaris Critton, and he was there. He got there the year I left, but that was the next year when Flip Saunders had taken over. I was there with Eddie Jordan, and then Eddie got fired the second year, and then Ed Tapscott took over for the rest of it. But you talk about some characters, man. So I got
Swaggy P.
Oh, unbelievable.
Oh my God! Back to the Knicks tenure, Dave. Specifically towards the end of it, I know you've mentioned in the past about the awkwardness about the Knicks bringing in that firm. Can you touch on what it was like having to deal with McKinsey & Company?
Yes. They hired a consulting firm called the McKinsey Group. And, I'm like, okay, a consulting firm. Now, I'm like, okay. Now, if the consulting firm was like, John Thompson, Hubie Brown coming in, be okay. Now, a consulting firm with some kid that graduated from MIT, a girl from Stanford, and they know nothing about basketball, put up little red flags to me and, the rest of the coaches, but I don't think they want to talk about it. But I'm the gag order's gone that nowadays of, no longer with the Knicks or whatever,
Right.
I remember I tweeted once, I just said I was happy to join the Knicks, and they made me, you can't tweet about anything. So, but anyway, to go back. So I read about the McKinsey Group, I read a book about them and all of this, and I did some research on them. So like the one day I said, guys, how many NBA teams have you worked with in the past? None. How many are you working with this year? None. So we're your guinea pig. We won 54 games last year. You got us filling out these papers. They had a stoplight system, red, yellow, and green.
What are you all, children? That doesn't make any sense.
Well, that's about it. So if you were good today, I circled the green and then wrote, very high energetic, paid attention to detail, boom. Red, he was late to practice, whatever. It's just like, I'm like, this is like elementary school. So, I'm like, this is like ridiculous stuff. And it was paperwork. Every day we're supposed to write out a workout. Mello was one of my guys. So, okay, Mello, we're going to do elbow isolations. We're going to work on jab, jump shot, shot fake, get to the basket. Okay, we're going to work on spot up threes in transition, blah, blah, blah. We're going to get him down in the post, work on his little fadeaways, this and that. Then all of a sudden, Roger Hines would come in, the trainer, say, Mello's got his tendonitis is acting up. All he can do is, some spot shooting and some free throws. So I'm like, I'm writing 2 reports out now, the one that I want to do. So I say, why not write one report after we work out? So that's one report. And they're like, oh, that's a great idea. Then they want to do a pre-populated bi-weekly report. I'm like, what in the world? That's where you're writing a workout for the next 2 weeks. I said, we can't write one for the day. How am I going to write one for 2 weeks?
Right.
Like, this stuff was just like, and like, I took a picture of my room one time. I was on my bed and you couldn't see the floor in the hotel room because it was reports after reports after reports. And, we used to joke around, what's MSG stand for? Meeting Square Garden. We had a meeting to have a meeting with them. And it was like, and then they brought in a new group of guys 6 months later to go over what the other group just did, to retweak it. It was,
Jesus.
and I'll tell you, one of the best things, and they would used to be, they didn't travel with us, but they'd show up, and the players are like, who are these guys? Out of the McKinsey group, they're like, who are they? And then the players are like, if they're like evaluating, they might be like evaluating everything we're doing. So they were sort of like, sort of like internal. Yeah, it's almost like internal affairs. And I'll never forget one time, the one guy's sitting over on our bench at the Garden, and he's, typing up on his laptop, and somebody shot a ball. You're out there, before the game, a few guys, and a ball went over, and the ball knocked the computer out and fell on the floor. And the guy's, well, don't I get a heads up? And he's like yelling. And I'll never forget, Amari goes, computers aren't allowed on the basketball courts. It's sort of like, I was like, all right, stat, way to go. But it was uncomfortable for everyone, because it was just like, it was like, it had nothing to do with basketball. I mean, I said, like, hey, can you tell us how to defend the high pick and roll? We're having trouble with that. It was nothing to do with basketball. And like I said, if we would have took all the time we did, working players out, that we did filing reports, we would have made the playoffs.
Yeah.
The coaching staff, we spent more time writing these reports. I wrote a book, and I never wrote as much as I did in my life. It was just like, it was just, I just don't understand what the whole thing, and they charge a fortune for their services, And the one guy that wrote the book, it was called The Firm, not John Grisham's The Firm, but it was The Firm, about written, by this guy. And the guy said, if you're going to be a consultant, you better know that job better than the person you're telling how to do the job. And that's why I said, if it was, right, exactly. That'd be like, it's, that would be like, well, the Knicks did it, hiring Phil, Derek Fisher, and Steve Mills. We just bring guys in and that have never done a job, and you be the president.
Like us trying to teach you how to shoot.
Yeah, it's just crazy with with what happened during that stint and stuff. But
to get back onto lighter stuff, because that sounds like I wouldn't want to have to go through that. I'm sorry that you had to write 3 books in one season. To get back to a lighter note, though, about the Knicks this current year, obviously we've all seen the improvement in Julius Randle's game. Like, his shooting splits have gone up, everything except for the overall field goal percentage, partly because he's taking more threes. But his 3-point percentage has gone up from 27.7 last year to over 42% this year. And most NBA players don't have that much of an increase year 6, year 7 in their career. What have you seen in Julius's work ethic, off the court stuff? How has he actually gotten to this point?
He's put the time in. I mean, and you got to realize, the Knicks were in that Elite 8 last year, so he had a little bit extra time, to work on. And I saw some stuff with him. I think he was working out down in Texas with the one kid, what's his name, Tyler, whatever. But anyway, he put the time in. He looks in great shape and everything. And R.J. Barrett's improved his shooting as well. And I've been reading about the guys go back and shoot in the evening. I mean, you want to be a great shooter, you put extra time in, and his confidence level, Tibbs has built the guys up, and the Knicks are shooting the ball really well. I mean, it's great to see Reggie Bullock, I was with him in Detroit. I'm glad to see him knocking shots down, but and Quickly's great. I mean, they've done a great job with all the way around. I mean, and like I said, to see Randolph's improvement from the 3, and that just goes to show he's been in the league now how many years, and he's improving.
And that's not normal.
You get better on that, but that's something you can get better on, is shooting the basketball. You're only going to be able to jump so high, and the older you get, the better you shoot the ball, the longer you play. I mean, I remember when Ray Allen was retired, they still wanted him. 4 years after he's done, teams still wanted him. They were calling him.
Yeah, you mentioned Jason Kidd before. The way Jason Kidd prolonged the end of his career was he turned into a 40%.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So
why is it that more players don't actually end up getting increases like Julius has this past year, like that late in their career? Do you think?
I think it just comes down to work ethic. Either you're going to work and you want to get better, or you don't. I mean, and a lot of people are, they're happy that I made the league. I've arrived. Think of how many guys have made the league or added a league.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of guys that were like lottery picks. It just, they don't get it, and they bounce around, boom, then you're out of the league. But, in this day and age, there is no reason why, you can't improve. I mean, they got the gun, the thing that passes you the ball. I mean, you can shoot 1,000 shots in an hour, if you want to do it, and you put the extra time in. And like I said, reading about, the Knicks with the after hours club or whatever they call it, that's what you got to do. Like I always say, if I'm third string and we go to practice every day, you're second string and Jason Kidd's first string, how am I going to get better? So, because you guys are already better than me.
Yeah.
And I leave practice when everybody else leaves practice. Now, maybe I start coming in a half hour early, stay a half hour early. Now I'm getting an hour extra each week. Now I'm starting to get a little bit of your time, but you're not doing anything. You're not getting any adjacent, it's just, and that's what you have to do, but you have to work smart, and it's been a joy watching them play, it really has.
Hey, where do you think they fall this year? If you don't mind me asking.
I can see them doing some damage in the playoffs. I mean, like, if the season were to end today, if they stay healthy, they defend. I mean, and that's, one of the things. And then, you get into playoffs, like they say, their pace isn't, but that's what the playoffs is. The playoffs aren't up and down the floor, as you all know. Right. And I could see them, I mean, if they played the Celtics, I could see them beating Celtics. I really could. The Celtics just seem a little, I don't know. They don't play well as a team. It seems like they're, Jason Tatum seems to go off on his own tangent every now and then and stuff, slide to the right, step back, clank, and, I listen to Scalabrini and Frank Isola in the morning and
Scalabrini is so good.
Oh, yeah. No, I used to work him out back when he was up in Washington, up in the Seattle area at Highline Community College, him and Quincy Wilder. So
there's still some funny videos out there. I just seen a funny one of Brian Scalabrini. He was at some local rec and these kids challenged him.
Wanted to play him. Yeah.
And he touched them. It's like, how many times I can imagine looking, if Brian Scalabrini's at a rec league, I can imagine a lot of people would challenge him. And once they get on the court,
yeah, no, they have no idea, these kids, like how good an NBA player is, how talented they are. I mean, like even the worst guy in the NBA would kill any, it's just, it's clueless, but, everyone seems to have think they're better than what they are,
Theo Pinson would put up 60 at Rucker Park and no one even would realize it. He's never played.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you more of a technical question about, I'm glad you mentioned RJ before, specifically, because it's like, I don't know shooting nearly as well as you, neither does Angela, obviously, but his shooting motion does look a little bit different last year to this year. Can you dive into that a little bit? What he's doing?
Yeah, I think, a couple of things that he's done. I mean, last year his balance hand, I call it a balance hand. A lot of guys call it a guide hand. And I say, well, you should call it a misguide hand because it doesn't guide the ball in, but I'm about positive. So, his balance hand used to be he was a left-hander, so his balance hand used to be on top of the ball. It's now more to the side. So from here, a lot of movement. He has to release it, so forth. And the other thing, he seems to be, on his catch, he's more shot ready. Last year he seemed to be a little bit more rigid, even at the free throw line. Now, his shoulders are in front of his feet, whereas last year he had a tendency to be too stiff, and when he went back, lifted the ball up, his momentum was going backwards. So he seems to be, more fluid with his motion that way.
Right. I know I looked it up before when a lot of the things you've written about. I've actually never, because I haven't done too much research about shooting, not from playing ever. What is the importance about actually leaning a little forward versus being stand up straight?
Well, if I'm straight up and then when I bring the ball back, you're good. There's some movements going to go backwards. So when you want your shoulders in front of your feet, your head in front of your shoulders. So now when you catch and you go up, now you're upright. And then you want to release the ball right before the top of your jump. Because if you wait until the top, your momentum's actually on the way down. And that's the hardest thing to teach in shooting, is when to release the basketball. Because everything else, I can make adjustments. I can move your hand placement, your elbow in. I could get you in an athlete. But I can't make you shoot the ball.
Right.
It's like, Charles Barkley's golf swing, he's got the hitches and stuff. Like that was like the whole thing with Markelle Fultz. Remember, he had all the hitches and stuff. And it's like Chuck Knobloch all of a sudden couldn't throw the ball from second base. They had to make him an outfielder. And Rich Ankiel, they had to make him an out. Like,
Wow.
you can't, it's like you can throw it, you pump faking it, it's just that, something gets caught up with the mind and the body. And then,
Hey, Dave, I have a question for you.
sure.
What's your opinion on Elfrid Payton on the Knicks this year and his how he's been doing? What's your overall view on him?
I think he's a solid player. I don't think he should be a starter in the league. I think he's more of a role player, and he's got a consistency. He's been inconsistent his whole career, and he's got to become a better shooter. I think, still he struggles at the line. And with his shot, his shooting hand's a little on the side of the basketball and stuff. But I'm glad to see that he got a haircut, though, from what he had in the past there. That was ridiculous there.
So on our pod, we talk about Elfrid Payton a lot. And with a lot of people, we discuss who they think should be starter in his place.
Right.
I gotta ask you that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not there every day. And Tibbs probably feels like, with Derrick Rose, he gives that second unit a nice, jolt and stuff. I mean, that's like when I was with Knicks, we had to convince J.R. Smith to go to the bench. He won 6th man of the year.
Yeah.
A lot of people know it's not who starts, it's who finishes, and it's like the whole thing, even like when KD came back, why start him?
Yeah.
The first quarter don't mean anything, and they didn't start him. But meanwhile, he's playing down a stretch, and that's the thing. Like everybody wants to start, but and I think they just got a nice, feel, a nice chemistry with D Rose coming off the bench and everything, and him and Quickly with that second unit and everything. I did. Instead of so, but like I said, I think it's working out fine. Everyone wants, change up the starters, this and that, but I think you go with what's successful,
Gotta say, I wish you were there to help out Frank Ntilikina and Knox with their shots, man.
Yeah,
wish you were over there.
Believe me, I wish I was back there too. I like I said, I love the Garden, loved it, I loved everyone, everyone at the Garden. I'm talking about, the people, the ushers, everyone. I enjoyed, even when I was, with Detroit, we went back. They always, made you feel at home and everything. And, everyone talks about New Yorkers being brash and all that stuff. And I always said, God forbid if 9/11 would have happened in LA, they would have been running home to make sure their Mercedes didn't have a scratch on it, or their house got ruined and stuff. I mean, things go tough in New York. Like I said, I grew up in Jersey and stuff, but we pull together for one another. We don't care about anything but the person. We might be a little rough and bust one another's balls, but when it comes down to when something has to be done, New Yorkers, they get it done.
Yeah.
That is one good thing about the Northeast, I feel like, in America specifically. Everything from Baltimore to Boston, it's like, we all rag on each other a lot, but it's extremely tight-knit. We all care about our neighbors and family more than anything.
Right. No, that's the truth.
Dave, a couple more questions before we get out of here.
Sure.
Currently for the Knicks, smoothest stroke on the team that you see.
Smooth. I like Reggie Bullock's stroke. I mean, smooth, and I like his work with Reggie. I mean, Quickly's going to be a good one, though. I mean, I think he starts his shot a little bit low, but as he gets strong, I mean, he's still a kid, for crying out loud, and but he's going to be a good one. He's not afraid out there, but Reggie's got a nice stroke. I mean, and that's what he does, and he's bounced around. I'm glad to see him finally, finding a niche. I know he's had some, injury problems and stuff, but he was, a good guy, solid guy in the locker room and everything. And, I just got to be a little partial because, I was with him and had worked with him in Detroit and so forth,
He's the perfect 3-and-D person for Tom Thibodeau's team. That's for sure.
Yes, for sure.
I don't know if you saw it. I did a video. I was in Florida 2 weeks ago, and I did a little interview video with people. And one of the questions I asked was, "What do you think of Reggie Bullock's haircut?" So I'll ask your opinion now. What do you think?
Yeah, well, I got on Elfrid Payton about getting it cut. I'm like, if I was Reggie, I'd tell him I'm ready. I got some scissors ready for him there. So,
hey, what do you think about this whole Nets team with KD, James, Kyrie joining, Blake
I
joining.
think it's completely absurd and ridiculous what's going on in the NBA with that nonsense. And I mean, like, could you imagine Larry Bird saying, "Hey, Magic, let's get together and play next year"? I mean, I understand it's the free agency and stuff, but like, where's your competitive spirit? I want to kick your ass. It's like I played overseas and, I was with the team called St. Gall's, and our rivals in Belfast was Sporting Belfast. And, I'd been over there for a number of years, and the team from Sporting Belfast, they actually offered me more money to go over and play for that. I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
I think, my teammates have become, they're almost like family. I mean, I still go back over. It's like I never left. I mean, we just, have such, they call it crack, not crack cocaine, but CRAIC. And it's mean like, good time, laughter and everything. And It's like I've never left. I mean, if I would have went over to that team, I would have destroyed the relationships and friendships I went there. I mean, but it's nowadays, it's like, I want to go play with my boy out in this and that. It's like,
Dave, what do you think about how KD and them said that the Knicks are not cool anymore? Some along those lines. The Knicks are not cool. Everybody's got to go to Brooklyn.
Those with KD and Kyrie, I mean, the earth's flat with Kyrie and K. It's just, you made your decisions, and just I think he just said it, meaning that. I think he just meant it because the Knicks haven't been good for so long that like nobody wants to go to a bad team. I think he meant it that way, Not that the Nets were like, they were great on fire either, but I think that's the way he meant it. I mean,
I got one more question. I'm sorry, guys. I know you had questions asked, but I had questions. So you went back to it is ridiculous that all these superstars can go on one team and these teams can afford them. Do you think there's any resolution to that the league can put in play, like a grading system or something?
I mean, they try to do it like, with the salary cap, but then, teams will go over the salary cap and pay the luxury tax.
Yeah. And the guys will get waived and then they'll get veterans min.
Take price cuts and stuff. Yeah.
Right. Like, like Drummond took the buyout and everything and everything. But I think they're going to have to look into that. I would assume. I mean, it kills like,
it kills fandom for a generation. It's like, oh, we got LeBron James for the next 8-9 years.
Yeah. No, it's like, when I was a kid growing up, my favorite athlete of all time is Willie Mays, the Say Hey kid. And I was devastated when he went to the Mets. I mean, he stayed with one team till late in his career and stuff. It's like, but that's why I'm a Giants fan to this day. I'm a Jets fan because of Joe Namath. You know what I mean? I just grew up and I didn't become a Rams fan because of, Joe Willie going out to LA and stuff. I just, stuck with the team and, I don't like jump. Oh, I'm a Golden State. Now, how many Golden State Warrior fans came out of the closet when they got good? They didn't know the first thing about Golden State was ask them about Run TMC or Nate Thurman, Rick Barry. They have no clue. They just know Steph and Clay,
I know a lot of people that were Golden State fans growing up. They didn't know where Golden State was.
Yeah, right. Sure.
That's the saddest part. Dave, the last question I had to ask you was, because you said Bullock has the smoothest stroke on the team. Smoothest stroke in the NBA currently, is it Steph Curry? Is it someone else?
No, I thought, that, Klay Thompson, just because he's so efficient, he has no movement. I mean, Steph can just score, 3 different ways. He can finish around the hoop. I mean, he's got catch and shoot. He can shoot it off the dribble. But, as far as like, just the stroke itself, I think, if I told the kid you wanted to watch somebody shoot the basketball, it would be Klay Thompson and stuff, And
then,
I tell you,
what about
I was
all
watching
time
it
afterwards?
all time. That's a tough one. I mean, probably like, Jerry West had a nice look. Rick Barry had a beautiful looking jump shot. Dick Barnett, no, fall back, baby. Just joking there. Dick's a great guy. Michael Gilchrist, huh? How about that one? You said good ones. I'm sorry.
Lonzo Ball's first season.
Yeah, right. But I'll tell you, I was watching that kid Anthony Simons the other day, man. He was 9 for 10. He's got a nice looking stroke. I hadn't seen a whole lot of him, but then when he had 9 out of 10, I pulled it up and was watching. He's got a nice looking stroke. I mean, he's got be in the league a little bit longer and everything. But I was watching that, and that was very impressive. He made 4 the game before that in a row, right? He was going for the record, and then he's made 13 in a row, and he missed his 10th one the other night and stuff. But
yeah, I picked him up in fantasy. Wish he was a little more consistent early in the year.
Yeah, that's why I said, see what he does. Like I said, more consistent. But it was, great seeing, that was, nice display of shooting and stuff. But I'd say, right now, probably, emulate Klay Thompson as far as the kids and stuff, as far as, perfect form. And I tell you, go on the women's side. I mean, Elena Delandone, she's got a beautiful stroke.
Yeah.
On the women's side. I mean, she's in that perfect L at the free throw line. She's got like no movement at all. I mean, it's like, and I tell people, eliminate motion, increase accuracy. The more moving parts you have, the more chances of missing you have.
Right. You mentioned there's before Sue Bird as well. Sue Bird is
Sue Bird, Diana Taurasi. I mean, so.
That's basically all I got. Ange, any what else do you have want to ask Dave?
It was good. I'm good. Pleasure to have you on, man.
I got one more. I got one more for you, Dave. That I know the Knicks.
No
fans
problem. Yeah, sure.
Know.
No problem at all. I'm enjoying this. This is great.
Tyson Chandler versus Roy Hibbert matchup. What went wrong?
Are the Knicks fans dying to know that?
I'm dying to know. It's been like eating at me.
It's been
forever. What went wrong there?
We were just a little banged up going into that series. I mean, Melo's shoulder was bad and stuff. I mean, and everyone talks about the block that changed the whole series stuff. But hey, don't, like you said, everyone wants to know what went wrong. Nobody said, how did you guys get there?
Oh, I watched the whole season. I was the happiest Knicks fan you could find.
But it was like funny, like I mean. Nobody expected us to even get that far, and then when we got there, everyone was disappointed. It was like, but it was a great year for us,
Was
but I told
that's hand an issue during that series? Cause I know he had punched the fire extinguisher.
Yeah. So that's,
if you can give us some on that.
You know what? I think that was the year before. I don't think he was. Yeah, he wasn't there. That was the year before when I wasn't with the Knicks when he had done that. That was, actually, he had lost it and so forth. But
although still listen to all the kids out there, don't punch glass.
Yeah, right. That's it. It was like, your mother, don't touch the stove. It's hot, right?
Can you try one time?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So, but
Dave, this has been a great pleasure, sir. I can't thank you enough for coming on.
I appreciate you guys having me on. I mean, I enjoy it. Like I said, I love the Knicks, and it's great for the NBA and great for the New York fans who are the best in the world. I mean, that was another thing when I was at Knicks. No matter where you went on the road, there were always Knicks fans, man. Even if you went to the hotel, you pulled up, there was always Knicks fans everywhere, and it was always great, to see,
that big Knick Energy.
Yeah. Knickstape. Whoop.
Yeah.
Dave, speaking of plugs, I know you've had a book out for a while. I know you have the app. I know you still do shooting clinics and stuff like that. What do you got going on this year?
Just right now, I'm just, getting ready for my summer schedule. It's still, booking dates and everything. I know some states aren't allowing camps and everything. And, but that's about it. I'm, loving life down here, and, I'll be heading up, up into, up north, June 12th. I start my first camp up in North Carolina, and then I'm working my way up into Jersey and up to, up the East Coast and so forth. So.
Awesome. Once you get to Jersey, New York, I think we'll try to meet up with you.
That'll be great. I'll get in touch. I appreciate you guys having me on, man. It was great.
Thank you. Last thing, what's your Twitter and Instagram for the listeners?
Oh man, I guess it's just Dave Hopla, David Franco. I don't. My daughter said I'm the worst with social media.
I'll look before we go. I'll look up your Twitter.
I'm the worst with that. I know my email and my phone number, and then after that, I always tell the kids at camp. I says, I had to get with it. I had to get with this social media stuff. I said to them, I'm on Facelift, Snapdust, Cyber Chat, LinkedIn, Insta-Leader. And the kids are like, what are you talking about? Well, I said, aren't you on Insta-Leader? He goes, no, I'm on Instagram. I said, it's all metric. It doesn't matter. They look at me like I'm crazy, but I'm really the worst with that stuff. Like, I don't do, like I said, I post the thing Throwback Thursday every Thursday because I know how to have a picture and do that. But I'm very limited to that. Like I said, I call the cell phone the devil's device, man. I really do. It's ruined many relationships, and it really has. I mean, so but this has been great. I appreciate it. And, be in touch. All right.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it. For everyone that wants to know, it is at Dave Hopla. Make sure to follow, like, and subscribe to us on YouTube, iTunes, and Spotify. Dave, you are the man.
All right. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks. Have a good one.
All right, guys. Have a great day.
You too.
Bye-bye.